Hi, my name is Donna Bark, and I'm here today to talk to you about Florida Diabetes Camp. Florida Diabetes Camp is a nonprofit organization that provides summer programs and weekend mini camps for children from the ages of 6 to 18 who have been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I hope to impress upon you how important camp is to these children and inspire you to help fund this work. To help you understand how important camp is, let me give you a brief overview of type 1 diabetes. The most important thing to understand is there is no cure for type 1 diabetes. It can't be fixed by diet or exercise, there are no pills to make it better, and it isn't caused by eating sweet. Insulin keeps type 1 diabetics alive. As my title here says, insulin is not a cure, it's life support. You can see that the number of children affected is quite large, and it is growing every year. Type 1 diabetics are usually diagnosed before the age of 30, although it can occur even later. Type 1 diabetics must take insulin via injections or an insulin pump every day for the rest of their lives, or they will die. Prior to the discovery of insulin, in 1922, a person with type 1 diabetes would die as their body was unable to produce the insulin, which helps convert carbohydrates into energy, feeds your cells, keep you alive. Doctors don't know what causes type 1 diabetes, but it is thought to be a combination of genetic and environmental factors. The immune system destroys the insulin-producing islet cells in the pancreas. Despite common misconception and a similar name, it is not the same disease as type 2 diabetes, which primarily affects adults and can usually be controlled by diet and exercise. There are also the complications which affect diabetics today as well as in the past. They include kidney failure, blindness, nerve damage, amputations, heart disease, and stroke. Type 1 diabetes certainly sets children apart from their peers. Part of the daily regimen includes checking their blood sugar multiple times a day, counting how many carbohydrates they're consuming, calculating the amount of insulin needed for those carbs and or high blood sugars, injecting insulin as needed, treating high or low blood sugars, and dealing with the misconceptions of adults who don't think that they can have anything with sugar in it. With only 1 in 400 children having type 1, it's not uncommon that a child be the only one in their class to have the disease. In school, high or low blood sugar can interfere with the learning process by causing confusion, irritability, blurry vision, and an inability to concentrate. Time is also missed in class because diabetes is an immune disorder, and these children have a compromised immune system which tends to make them more prone to illnesses and infection. Diabetes makes daily life more challenging as children are also dealing with regular teenage issues such as peer pressure, relationships, and puberty. This extremely brief picture of what a type 1 diabetic is facing makes Florida Diabetes Camp an integral part of their treatment. Florida Diabetes Camp provides a place where these kids can go once a year and just be normal. Everyone around them is checking blood sugar, taking injections, counting their carbohydrates. For the space of a week, anyone without diabetes is the odd man out. Kids at camp are allowed to accept their disease, take charge, and learn skills they'll carry with them for the rest of their lives. As you can see from the camp slogan, "I can handle it," that's what camp does. Teaches these children to handle a lifelong disease. Camp is quite literally a refuge. How nice to hear that everyone needs to check their sugar, not just you. That everyone recognizes the signs of a low blood sugar and doesn't think you're just being mean or stupid or grumpy. Camp is irreplaceable in their lives. At Florida Diabetes Camp, though, it isn't all about diabetes. Kids engage in a variety of activities from archery to crafts. Paintball is a huge hit, and there's parties every night with a different theme. These kids get to spend a lot of time hanging out with old friends and making new ones. Camp also teaches kids good nutrition choices, provides counseling for those who are feeling overwhelmed dealing with diabetes, educates them on proper testing and injection techniques, and provides an atmosphere where they can be loved and cared for. The biggest perk for a parent of a camper is just a little break from the constant vigilance of overseeing diabetes care. Parents can be confident that their camper is getting the absolute best care at camp, whether that camper is 6 or 18. I just want to share a little personal story with you. My daughter Megan was diagnosed when she was 6 years old. She spent 3 days in pediatric intensive care and a total of a week at the hospital. One of the things they told us while we were there was send Megan to camp. Megan's endocrinologist, who's a specialist in endocrine disorders such as diabetes, also recommended camp on our very first visit. So Megan went to Pee Wee camp when she was 7 years old in June of 2003. She'd only been diagnosed for 7 months, and it was hard. Dad and I cried after we dropped her off. We wanted to go back right away and get her, but we knew it would be the best thing for her. And let me tell you, it was the best thing we've ever done for her. It gave us a little physical and mental break to recoup so we could take better care of her when she came home. And also, it opened up a whole new world for Meg. She got a little homesick, but when we picked her up, she couldn't stop talking about what she did and how much fun she had and what she learned. Megan learned to give herself her very own injections at that first camp, and she was so proud of herself. Megan has gone to camp every year since then. She has made friends that she has kept in touch with outside of camp and can't wait to see when she goes back. She starts planning for camp practically from the minute we get home and start unpacking until it's time to go. Megan's now 15 years old and she's a freshman in high school. While she does have her teenage moments, I know that the skills she's learned at camp will be with her for the rest of her life. She already speaks about being a counselor once she turns 18 because she knows what an impact a counselor can have on a camper's life. One of Megan's friends, Mallory, made us a little video just to explain a little bit of what camp means to her. I'd like for you to take a peek.
I love it more than anyone could ever understand. July 22nd, 2004. More than anyone could ever understand. Since then, I've never felt normal except at camp. July 22nd, 2004. Since then, I've never felt normal except at camp.
Thank you, Mallory. We really appreciate that. Florida Diabetes Camp has been here to serve these children for almost 50 years. The first camp was held back in 1962 for 40 children. The camp has grown over the years to be able to accommodate over 400 children each summer. Camp sessions are broken up over the summer by age group, and each group spends about a week in locations like Brandon, Tallahassee, DeLeon Springs, and there's a cycling camp that travels to different places. There are several weekend programs held during the year, including Teen Weekend, Bring a Friend Weekend, and Family Weekend, where there are more opportunities to see friends and keep learning the best way to manage your diabetes. While the cost varies for each summer session, the average cost is around $520. That covers the cabin, all the food, snacks, and drinks. Medical supplies including insulin, test strips, syringes, and even your own glucose meter. It's a real bargain. And you might think, how can they offer all of that at a low price? Well, let me tell you. Volunteers are the lifeblood of Florida Diabetes Camp. If the camp was required to pay all of the professionals for their services, the cost of camp would be prohibitive. Volunteers are from all spectrums of society. There are heads of endocrinology programs associated with universities, nurses from hospitals and private practices, nutritionists, pediatric endocrinologists, who are often the very same ones that campers see when they're home, psychologists who come to help children that are struggling to cope. The counselors are medical students, research assistants, former campers, people who just love to camp and hang out with kids. Parents volunteer, and so do older siblings. These people make camp possible, and the campers and parents of campers can't appreciate them enough for what they do. Sponsors also help Florida Diabetes keep the cost of camp so low. The only cost that's actually passed on to the campers in that average $520 is for the campground rental and food. Sponsors of camp include individuals, companies, and charitable organizations. Their contributions help enable camp to be provided to children regardless of financial status. Scholarships are offered to children who cannot pay. No child is ever turned away because of financial hardship, and that's why we need you. Florida Diabetes Camp needs help. Any donation you can make will help them continue this impressive work for an underrepresented group of kids. I realize you probably hear talk of diabetes every day, but what most people don't realize is the majority of the focus is on type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is a deadly disease that at a minimum will shorten the lifespan and seriously compromise quality of life. Why don't you forego your Starbucks for a week or sign up for payroll deduction if your employer has the option? Did you get a big tax refund? Send a little bit of it to diabetes camp. Got a bonus at work? Spare a little bit? It's unexpected money. Make some child's summer. If you need a tax write-off, Florida Diabetes Camp is a 501c3 charitable organization and all donations are tax deductible. And if it's impossible for you to give funds, consider giving your time. A week camping out with these kids, you'll never forget that experience. Gary Cornwell is the program director at Florida Diabetes Camp. He's more than happy to answer any other questions you might have regarding donations to camp. He can be reached via mail, email, phone, or fax. Please visit the camp website at www.floridadiabetescamp.org for more information on camp. I really appreciate the time you've taken to listen to me present this great cause, and I hope I've been able to inspire you to contribute to help keep camp going for these children.